Which Side Podcast is a proud member of the Which Side Media Collective.
This week's episode is sponsored by
Eric Bear.
You've heard that name before because he's awesome and he sponsored a couple episodes.
Yeah, he was the one that did the matching.
He did do the matching.
And since only one person chose to donate during that matching period, this episode's still brought to you by Eric Bear.
Because he's awesome. You could sponsor an episode and have us say whatever the fuck you want. Like, we could be like, hey, check out so-and-so's blog. Or we could be like, hey, so-and-so has an event going on over here. You should check it out.
Yeah, all you have to do is
go to our website,
whichsidepodcast.com. Donate at least $10 because that's how much it costs us to make an episode for you each week.
Without these sponsorships, it makes it really hard to continue doing these. So if you like what we're doing, please consider sponsoring. This is episode 87.
Yeah, we talked to Tiffany Young of Ducks and Clucks.
It's a sanctuary for ducks and chickens and things that she says shouldn't be ducks but are classified as ducks even though they don't share the same lineage.
They've also had turkeys and geese and other avian friends.
So listen through that one. I hope you guys enjoy. I had a lot of fun. What events do we have going on this week?
Well, it's your birthday. So everyone send Jeremy birthday wishes July 11th.
Thank you.
Also, please still write prisoners. Prisoners need love all the time, even when it's not their birthdays. So,
out of all of our listeners, we've only had a couple respond that they're actually writing. Now, I have to believe there's more of you actually writing. I have to. Our listeners can't suck that much.
So just let us know. You can write us an email or get in contact with us on social media, and we'll hook you up for it.
If you don't know who to write, there's a bunch of awesome resources. We link to one of them ourselves, which is the Denver Anarchist Black Cross, excuse me.
Yeah.
And just pick one. Just pick anyone on the list. Just write them up and say, hey, what's up?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, pick you, and you're good to go.
We did have somebody say they're going to send the entire Lord of the Rings to somebody.
Was it Lord of the Rings?
I think it was Lord of the Rings. You know, if you're going to do that, you might want to break it up in multiple letters.
Or use really, really, really small font.
Or use really, really, really small font. That's right. And if you're doing that, make sure you probably want to have a good rapport with that individual beforehand. So they're not just going, what the fuck is this? At least Jordan, I didn't even have to tell him what I was doing. He got it right away. He's like, oh, this is from Jeremy? Fuck this.
Delete. This is how you do things.
That's right.
Deleting things in real life.
So, the slingshot this week. July 11th, 1967. Week-long riots began in Newark, New Jersey. 26 died with over 1,000 arrests. I didn't know about that one either.
I didn't either.
Every week I learn things flipping through this slingshot organizer.
You can get a slingshot organizer from your local info shop.
Or better yet, if you don't have an info shop, fucking start one. It's not that hard.
Enjoy.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
Enjoy.
What
Enjoy.
What was that?
Enjoy.
How you guys doing?
Doing good. I'm Jeremy, by the way.
Hi, Jeremy. Tiffany.
Nice to meet you, Tiffany.
You too.
And this is Jordan.
Jordan, I've met.
Yes.
So, what's your day been like today?
Today, I just, let's see, what did I do? I slept in, I made some coffee, took care of my flock of rescued ducks and clucks, and then I made the new Earth Balance vegan white cheddar mac and cheese.
Oh, yummy.
Super tasty. I highly recommend it.
I really wish that I was talking to you about it earlier, but I really wish that they had that in stores.
I know. I had to order it online from I got it from Rabbit Food Grocery in Austin.
Okay. I noticed that Whole Foods got the other Smart Balance, like they got the
Cheez-It
knockoff thing, and
they got the
Oh,
cheddar
did they?
popcorn too.
and they got the aged cheddar popcorn.
Yeah,
Yum.
which is way too delicious. It's
You just keep eating it and eating it.
yeah. So, what does taking care of your flock really entail, like on a daily basis?
Well, right now, I don't know if you've heard, but we just moved from Seattle to Salt Lake City. So they are presently in a temporary aviary, which Jordan was kind enough to come over and help me set up. And I just took a bid on a permanent aviary in my permanent house, so that should be built in a few weeks. But care today was emptying out their 2 big pools and refilling them with fresh water, and feeding them all and water and fresh romaine lettuce and peas and an apple. So that was their morning routine.
So, why Salt Lake?
You know, that's a great question. But the only reason is because I'm actually originally from here.
Oh, okay.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, 1989 class of Taylorsville High. And then I left immediately the day after high school ended and didn't look back. But now, 25 years later, my parents are getting kind of old and could use some help. And I have a best friend here who's got 3 daughters who could, she could use a little help. And I just, miss them. And it was a good time to come back. I work as a consultant right now and I can work from anywhere. So it just made it really easy.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So, was your path to towards animal rights and veganism before you left or after you left?
I had a long disconnect. There were a lot of stories when I was a really little kid. Like one of the very first stories, or one of my earliest memories, is of rescuing a bird. When I was a little less than 2 years old, I tried to sneak it in the back door. And I guess it was probably a baby bird that had fallen from a nest.
Mhm.
And my dad set it up with a light bulb. And honestly, we probably didn't know what we were doing. I was only 2, so I don't think it made it. But I have a lot of memories like that when I was a little kid of just loving animals. And then I just had the usual, all too common disconnect. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago that I started rescuing ducks and chickens that it really clicked for me.
How did the rescuing start? Like, what was like, oh, I want to rescue chickens or ducks?
Yeah.
Or was it more like I want a duck in my backyard, and it evolved from there?
It did. That was how it started. So a little over 10 years ago in Seattle, I had lived there for a year, and then it was a good time to buy a house. So I bought my first house, and I was like, I own a house. Like, I could do whatever I want. And no one can tell me no, because it's my house. And what I wanted to do was have a pet duck. I had just always kind of been fascinated by them and didn't really know much about them. And I'd never had like an indoor parakeet or anything. And I just really wanted one. So I went down to the feed store, and I imagined it would be like how when you adopt a kitten or a puppy, like you go in and you meet some, or, a dog, you go in and meet them and you see which one you click with. And it was not at all like that. At a farm store, they reach in this vat of like 100 ducklings, and they just pick one out and stick it in a box. And his name was Flapper, and he's my only non-rescued duck. He was $3, and his food was $7.
Wow.
And that was my beginning. And then when he was about 4 months old, I realized, he was really happy being with me, and I had a couple of rescued cats, 3 rescued cats, but I thought he'd, really benefit from having a little ducky friend. And the veterinarian recommended a duck that needed rescuing at the Seattle Animal Shelter. So that was our first rescue.
So how did that evolve into being vegan?
I think it took me a while, but I started with vegetarian, and I think one of the most graphic ones for me was I used to just not even think about wings, and wings are just, hey, let's go get some wings, or there's a football game on and we're going to have some wings. Mm-hmm. And when you have a little baby duckling, their little wingies don't have feathers on them yet, and they look like chicken wings. And they're actually, it's like, I don't know how you can have that much cognitive dissonance, because it's an actual wing, and there are 2 of them, and they are attached to the body of a living thing. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I've been eating these things. And half of wings are legs. Like, no one ever thinks of that. When you order wings at a restaurant, half of those are actually legs. They just call them wings.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. That just kind of clicked for me, and I stopped eating meat after that.
Yeah, because I was just going to say that, chickens only have 2 wings, so a bucket of 10 wings I thought would be 5 chickens. But not that it's okay, but there's legs in there too. That's weird.
Just for the wings, you've got to kill 5 chickens. Yeah. So that's how it started. And it took me a while. I was vegetarian for quite a few years, or vegetarian. Somehow fish was still okay for me until I started going whale watching. Mm-hmm. And that clicked. I was, all these beautiful orcas out in the wild. And I was like, they're eating the fish. I don't need to eat the fish. They need the fish. The fish there aren't excess fish jumping up on land for me to eat. Yeah. So that's when I was like, I think I'll just leave those to the orcas.
So how did that evolve into, veganism, evolve from vegetarianism into veganism?
I think, I hear a lot of vegans say cheese was their last bastion, the last thing they gave up. And for me, I think it was eggs. And because I had rescued ducks, I kind of thought those were okay for a while. And I just didn't really make the connection of even if you have backyard chickens and you raise them yourself and you treat them well, or they're all rescued, somewhere, half of those eggs that hatched for you to have backyard chickens were roosters. You can't tell if an egg is a boy or a girl until it hatches. And they grind up all those baby roosters because no one wants them. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll just cut out those eggs too.
So, okay, this is a question I've always wondered with. My parents are one of those ones that have backyard chickens. Uh-huh. It's always been a little bit of a contention, with me and my daughter, because yes, they keep them free range. Yes, they treat them well, but there's still that idea of, they're there to serve them, to give them eggs, and the other, like you said, 50% had to die to create them.
Yeah.
How do you feel about backyard raising? Because that's how you started.
I think they are certainly better off than a factory farmed chicken, for sure, from a battery cage chicken. Mm-hmm. But yeah, half of them die, and people just don't think about that. They say, well, I ordered, sex-linked chickens. They're all girls, but they're not. Aren't all born girls. Half of them were born boys and ground up or suffocated. Mm-hmm. And I guess, particularly in Seattle, it was such a trend of, hipster urban farming backyard. And they were always bloggers. I actually almost don't mind the people who are really taking care of stuff on their own. I'm not, I don't condone it, but the ones that were getting chickens and then blogging about it, and then mysteriously 6 months later they were all killed by raccoons, or those are the ones that just drive me up a wall. Or the ones that, Seattle right now has a huge problem of people dumping their entire flock at the shelter. They'll get 13 chickens a week, 2 chickens the next week, 5 chickens the next week.
Holy cow.
And they just aren't set up for that. They're used to cats and dogs and the occasional parrot or
Yeah.
turtle. But yeah, someone dropping off 13 chickens is kind of a problem for them.
One of the things that I had heard, and this I don't know how accurate any of this is, but I've heard that a lot of people who have sanctuaries will feed the eggs that are laid back to the chickens.
Yeah.
Like, is that a normal thing, like in the wild, or is that just an adaptation?
I think in the wild, they definitely, well, chickens will definitely sort of vie for nests and take other birds' eggs. So I think it is pretty natural. Um, and here I'll like hard boil them and give them back. And the best part is not even just the egg, but the egg shells are really important to them. Because even if, the rescue chickens, even though I don't need or want the eggs, they're still laying them every day, a couple of them. So they need a lot of calcium to make it takes a lot of calcium and nutrients to make an eggshell every single day. So that's why I feed them back to them, is it's a lot of good nutrients and eggshell calcium for them.
Yeah, I heard that that an egg to a chicken is way more useful than it is to a human. Because they get the calcium and everything else back from the shells and everything.
Yeah. People who aren't familiar with that, and you can supplement. I also give my chickens oyster shell, which you can buy, that helps supplement their calcium. But if you don't know that, yeah, they can get brittle bones, and because their body will just leach all the calcium right out of their bones to try to make those eggshells.
Just my initial gut reaction is, but they're eating their own egg. Like, that just seems so wrong.
Cannibalism.
Yeah, like so.
They're definitely little dinosaurs. I love to see like their little dinosaur nature come out. They're cute and fluffy and affectionate. I think that chickens are surprisingly more affectionate than people think, but they also can show their inner dinosaur.
So, what is like the biggest difference between raising like chickens and raising ducks?
I don't really raise them because I rescue. So like I've had people contact me about hatching, and I'm like, I'm really not the person to ask because I don't hatch.
Raise is the wrong word. To care for, basically.
Caring, keeping. I think they're just totally different. It's almost like saying, what's the difference between having cats and dogs? So it's hard to compare. They're just totally different beasts.
Well, if you ask me, I say they both suck.
Ducks they're messier. They're kind of goofier, I think. Chickens are a little more serious. Ducks have a ton of personality. So do chickens, though. I don't know. I have this one chicken, Carol, who came from the Seattle Animal Shelter, and I'm like, she is just a beast. She loves to get up at dawn and just screech. But after spending every day with her for a year, she has decided that I'm finally trustworthy, and she wants me to pet her face every day. So every day she'll come over and she'll sit by me. She doesn't want to be picked up or held, but she'll peck me until I pet her face. And yeah, so even though she's a fierce beast, she's a sweet little hen.
So where do you get these birds that are rescued from?
They kind of come from all over. I have people contact me through, I have a Facebook page, Ducks and Clucks, and a website, ducksandclucks.com. And then a lot of them are from the Seattle Animal Shelter, or PAWS, which was a wildlife care center in Linwood, Washington, or from they're surrendered to the veterinarians. Like, people will have ducks or chickens, and then one will get sick, and they'll take it to the vet, and then they'll go, oh my God, the duck was 50 cents and this is $200. I can't afford that. So they end up with me that way. The vets will take them and heal them and then send them my way.
I didn't know vets did that.
Yeah, there's a couple vets in Seattle, and I have a good one here now. She's an exotic pet vet, and her name is Dr. Harris. I think Lauren Harris. She's out on Fort Union and 18th East almost. And she rehabs wildlife every year. She's got a bunch of starlings and a lot of little baby birdies that fell from nests and stuff. And tortoises and rabbits and parrots and all that kind of stuff. So she's already seen 2 of my ducks.
So now that you're here, are you actively taking more birds? Or are you kind of like, I've reached my limit, I do what I can kind of thing?
Yeah. I'm kind of flying under the radar right now. Because they're still in temporary space. They're actually in my parents' backyard in a temporary aviary.
Uh-huh.
Once I'm settled, I'll have a little bit of room, but I do just live in a single family home in Sugar House.
Mhm.
So I'm pretty limited. I think what I like to do and what I think I'm best at is the medical cases. So if someone has a tough case, I've been doing 10 years of it now, and I treat like the ones that need twice daily medication for a long term, or need vet wraps or frequent vet visits to maintain their health. That kind of thing is sort of my specialty. I'm much better at that than, say, taking in, 18 healthy chickens. Like, that's just not a good fit for me, because a healthy duck or a healthy chicken doesn't need me. There's a lot of other people who can step up and take them.
So what kind of reason would a duck need medicine 2 times a day?
Well, I've had a lot of ducks, like, they actually sort of the duck's Achilles heel is their feet. They have those little webbed feet,
Mhm.
and they're pretty delicate. And all it takes is just a little scrape on the bottom of their feet. And with all the mud and poop and stuff, if that gets infected, they tend to get either chronic arthritis or bone infections that can go systemic. So a little tiny cut on the foot can go systemic. And then that's, like, I have 3 ducks that have permanent limps, and I have to watch them that their permanent infections don't get out of hand again. So one of them has.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen
go
a
ahead.
lot of wild ducks with limps. Is that probably the reason?
Yeah. They either get a sprain or a cut and just gets infected. And the wild ducks can do okay. Like, they can tend to heal on their own, and they can still fly. But domestic ducks have high wing load. That's the nice way to say they're too fat to fly. So their high wing load keeps them kind of ground bound, and makes their legs a little tougher to heal.
So I've always been told that you shouldn't feed ducks at the park like bread and stuff.
Yeah.
That is true. Bread is bad for ducks. Doesn't have a lot of nutrients, and people tend to take like a whole loaf of bread and just throw it in. It's particularly bad for baby ducks. It can cause bone deformities when they're growing, because they grow so fast. They grow full size in 4 weeks.
Wow.
And it's best not to feed them, because it also causes overpopulation and then water contamination, and you can end up with things like botulism in the water and all sorts of bad stuff, or people complaining that there's too much waste and it's a nuisance in the parks. So I definitely tell people not to feed, and there's some people who just still insist. And so for those who are just have to feed, I recommend cat kibble, like dry cat food, or Cheerios at least. They're both a lot healthier than like a white bread.
I've heard, like, not as easy, but like peas and stuff like that, if they take
Yeah, those are much healthier. My ducks and chickens like romaine lettuce and peas and corn and apples and watermelon. They love grapes cut in half. But a park duck will be so used to junk food that they probably will just ignore that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I would if someone was throwing me junk
Right?
food and
And
someone
I
threw
had
me.
I had vegan mac and cheese for lunch, and
Peas or vegan mac and cheese? Vegan mac and cheese.
So which one's your favorite duck?
oh, they're all unique. But right now, my favorite is my old guy. His name is O'Malley Peepers, and he's about 9 years old. And he came into a wildlife center as a baby, maybe 2 or 3 days old, and they thought he was a wild duck. They were rescuing some wild mallards, and he was with them. And then within a day, he was like twice their size and way too friendly. So they called me, and I took him, and he's a big Muscovy duck. He's giant. He looks kind of like a turkey. And Muscovy ducks have this red face mask that kind of makes them look a little scary. But he's my favorite. He's
Like a
almost 9 years
dinosaur.
old now, and he's a big baby, and he's a snuggler, and he's almost on his way out. He has lymphoma,
Wow.
And he's had surgery to remove a tumor, and he's on steroids now twice a day to sort of maintain it as long as we can. But he probably only has a couple months left.
Oh,
Yeah, he's my baby boy.
he's super cute. He's more like the dinosaurs.
He totally looks like a dinosaur. I call him a dinosaur.
And so you're saying that that type of duck doesn't share the same like ancestry as like typical ducks or something like that, or they're like almost not the same.
Yeah, I think they really even shouldn't be called ducks. So all ducks, every single duck you ever see, wild or domestic, is descended from a mallard.
Okay.
Um,
Really?
and yeah, except for Muscovy ducks. And Muscovy ducks are South American tree perching ducks. And they fly better generally. They don't like water as well. They aren't able to oil their feathers as well as all other ducks, and they speak an entirely different language. Other ducks will quack. They do not quack. They make this sort of like heavy breathing, obscene phone caller sound, or a trill. They're really popular in cities for people because they're so quiet. Your neighbors wouldn't even know you had ducks.
I'm going to need an example of how they sound.
The heavy breathing. Okay, the boys sound like.
You're right. Your neighbors would not know that.
Yeah.
If someone called you, you would be like, what is this? I'm gonna have him call you guys later.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
So what's been the most rewarding thing for you in taking care of these animals?
I think for me, the very most rewarding thing is there's a few moments where I figure out what they want and I give it to them, and that's the most rewarding moment. So, for instance, like people, animal activists and people who work for animals, it's a pretty common thing to say, we're a voice for the voiceless. But to me, they're not voiceless. They're actually speaking loud and clear. And all of us humans are just not listening. We're so removed from animal life and so, caught up in our mobile devices and everything that we're just not listening to them anymore. And so for me, when I pay attention to them and I'm quiet and listen and figure out what one of them wants, it's really satisfying. So a couple examples. One of them, I have this duck, Lenora, and she was coming over to me. She's a Muscovy duck, and she was coming over to me and trilling, chirping, cheep, cheep, cheep. And then she'd walk over to her nest. And I was like, I think she wants that door open. I think she wants to go in that pen. And I open it up, and I was right. So I'd love that. Another one, Danny. I have a Danny girl duck. She is a handicapped duck. And she was done eating, and I thought she was ready to go back to her nest. But instead, she walked towards the big pool. And she can't reach it. She's in a protected area because she's handicapped. But I picked her up and took her to the big pool, and I was right. I had listened and watched, and that is exactly what she wanted. So every time you do that, they learn to trust you more, and they realize you're listening. And that's totally the most satisfying thing.
So do you think my mind went blank on how I was trying to word the question. How much is that just, them really expressing, or is that just like a guesswork, with a newborn?
I think they're pretty clear. I think they look at me like, man, you're dense. I am being so clear here and you are not listening. They'll pull on your pant leg and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, whereas a newborn really can't, they can cry and poop and
that's it.
That's about it. I think the ducks and chickens they're a little more advanced and they really express what they want. And it's just a matter of the more you get it right, the more they look at you like, oh, you do get it. You're not as dumb as I thought you were.
That's fascinating to me because I'm not an animal person. I'm very open about that. I don't get it personally. I'm like, you guys can do your thing, I'll do my thing. Let's be happy separately.
Yeah.
But my daughter is not. She's always wanting to go to sanctuary. She's always wanting to be around. She's always wanting to help. And I'm always like, can we just not?
Yeah.
So do you offer like tours, or have you offered tours or volunteer work or things like that for people that are interested?
I haven't for a while. I'm going to think about it in the future. And there's a couple reasons why, like, I haven't. My very first duck, Flapper, he was very personable and he really liked people and he liked going out and about. And he even went to, we did a couple foie gras demonstrations together and he just loved it. He'd like people come up and talk to him and give him peas. But a lot of the ducks I have now, they're all, I call them like my motley crew of misfit toys. They're all, were neglected or abused or dumped or injured or handicapped. And they really kind of don't care for people. So, but I've found recently a couple of ways that I can have people come visit. One of them is like people just generally want to like walk right into the aviary and walk right up to them. And for a predator species, or a prey species, like birds, they don't like you in their space. Like you're now an aggressor, you're a predator. So if I can get people to like just sit in these chairs and here's some treats and let them come to you, then that works. That's worked pretty well lately.
And that's kind of what we did just the other day.
Yeah.
And that was very nice.
Good. Yeah, and they will come to you if you have a treat. I gave them bread is bad, but I did every once in a while they get a little treat, and they had a slice of Dave's Killer 21 grain vegan bread.
That's way better than just some white bread off the shelf.
Right? I know.
And it's delicious, let's just be honest.
It is
delicious. But
you were thinking of possibly in the future doing that?
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of do it on a one-off basis. There'll be people who, will just contact me and say, I've got a kid who wants to come over. I tell people, like, if your kid is old enough to be able to sit in a chair and not, like, resist that urge to get up and run after and catch them, then, yeah, we can try it. So
yeah,
I think I'm about 3 weeks out from having my permanent aviary all done and the ducks moved over. And then after that, I'll think about it.
So how do you sustain doing this? Is it through donations? Do you have to do like grant work, or is it just all out of the love of your heart?
I have taken donations here and there. I'm not a nonprofit, but I kind of consider it, for the most part, it's my charity. It's my way of giving back. And that's just kind of how I choose to give my time and my money, is to just help these ducks and clucks. But I don't have too many. I have 9 ducks and 4 chickens right now. So it's not like a huge sanctuary. It's just a little backyard ducks and clucks.
Would you want to grow it to be very large?
I don't know. I've kind of thought about that. And I have some friends who have larger sanctuaries. And I try to balance it with educating people. Because I hate to be, like, I've had people write blog posts and link to my site, and they're like urban farmers, and they're like, and here's a place where you can take your chickens when they're old. And I'm like, no. I got this. That is not my mission, is to take your cast-offs. My mission is for you to knock that shit off, right?
Yeah.
So I hate to become like a warehouse for people to think it's okay to just continue using and eating animals and eggs. So that's the hard part, is like, is this really making any difference, or is it just making people feel better about their using animals?
How was taking a duck to a foie gras protest? Like, was that like, do people view it more of like you're using it as a visual aid, or is that, do you know what I mean? Like, was it well received?
I think it was. I mean, it was this restaurant in Seattle I think it was called Lark. And we sat right out front, and they had been protesting. It was through a group called NARN, Northwest Animal Rights Network.
Okay, I've heard of
They had been protesting foie gras in Seattle for quite a while. And so this was just something new they tried. And, a couple people were against it, like, that's just using an animal. But when they met Flapper, they were like, oh, okay, I see. He obviously likes it. And he was my only duck who would, though. I've tried to do stuff like that later, and none of the other ones would enjoy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just, you actually got a much better reception because if you're staying outside a restaurant with, images of tortured ducks, it's easy for them to discount you and just kind of, obnoxious protest kids.
Mm-hmm.
But if you actually have this beautiful, living, happy, smiling, quacking duck out there, they stop and think twice. And they're a little more receptive. So he definitely sort of put their guard down.
Was there any instance that you think you could remember that it really touched someone?
I've had several people tell me, I don't know exactly like with the foie gras protest, but there were several, over the years, there have been a lot of people who have said, I stopped eating chicken because of Carol, or I'll never eat duck. I've never eaten duck and I never would because of Flapper. Or, a lot of people are like, I didn't even know what foie gras was. I've tried it before, but I had no idea that's how it was made. So I think they do make a difference. And the more people learn about each of the unique personalities, I think that helps too. Because it's easy to just think, particularly with birds, like, it's a flock of birds. It's really hard to get inside and their flock and have them sort of like reveal their personalities.
So, sorry.
I mean, I think that you honestly just have to even spend 10 minutes with a flock just watching them, and you can see that everyone has an individual personality. It doesn't take long to see that.
Yeah. I still, have people tell me like, I'm going to get ducks, and what kind should I get? I'm like, well, every duck is a unique individual.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are some breed traits like Indian runner ducks are high strung and, but I just tell you should rescue. You should rescue.
Mm-hmm.
So how is Salt Lake different than Seattle as far as the vegan scene is concerned?
I'm just starting to get a handle on that. So far, so good. I mean, I miss a couple. There's pretty good restaurants in Seattle. I kind of miss the sauce on my pizza place in Seattle. Let's see if they could send me some white sauce from Pizza Pie.
What did that have in it?
Oh, I don't know, but it was magic. It's like a little crack sauce. I don't know what it is.
It's like an Alfredo sauce?
It's more like a white garlic sauce that they used instead of like marinara.
Okay.
Delicious.
That would be good.
Yeah, gotta try that. Gotta get that here. But there's good stuff here. I'm kind of a regular already at Vertical Diner. Kind of like that stuff. The Mountain is my favorite there. And they're like, would you like cheese or guacamole? And I'm like, yes, I would. Both. Pile all that on the Mountain, please. So, and I've tried the pizza by the slice downtown at, what's it called? It's like Pie Hole, I think. Yeah.
I still haven't tried that.
Yeah, I haven't tried Pie Hole. There's a pie really close to me. I'm out in the suburbs here, but there's a pie close to me that I go to all the time.
Good stuff. Yeah.
So, what do you think about? Have you tried any of the bakeries?
Cakewalk, right, is now part of what's it called?
Frisch.
So Cakewalk is owned by the sister of a girl I went to high school with.
Okay.
The Candy Colabella's sister is the baker of Cakewalk, which is now Frisk. So I've been there. I like her Dillos, the Twinkie-esque vegan Dillos. Kind of addicted to those. And it was so funny. I got this message on Facebook from Candy, who I went to high school with, and she was like, "Are you in Utah already? Where are you living? Because someone at Frisk told my sister that you're here." I'm like, wow, it's kind of a small world.
News travels
already
really
word
fast.
at Frisk that Ducks and Clucks has moved here.
Yeah, there's also City Cakes, which is on Main.
Yeah.
West Temple.
Okay.
No, is it?
It's in Maine now.
It's Maine now. Yeah.
Yeah, they've just moved, and they also have a really massive bakery.
I've liked them on Facebook, and I got to check them out.
Definitely.
I love them.
Haven't been there.
Their macaroons are delicious.
Are they? Might have to check that out. Yeah, one of the hardest things about me coming back to Utah, in addition to the politics here, was I'm such a city person. When I left, I went to college in Texas, and then I went to New York City, and then San Francisco, and then Seattle. So it was really hard coming back here. People were like, "Oh, you should move to Harriman," and I'm like, "Oh my God, no, I cannot. I have to be in the city." So I'm really lucky. I'm like kind of in Sugar House and really close to downtown, and hopefully it's like enough of a city to make it a good transition.
Yeah. I also live in Sugar House, and I just love it. I think that it's
Good.
like the best place to be in the city. I've lived
Yeah.
inside the city as well, but I like Sugar House. It's just kind of off.
I'm just the opposite. I lived in Sugar House for 10 years and glad when I got the fuck out.
Really?
I guess anything gets old after a while.
It can. It's definitely different living in the burbs compared to the city, but I think I'm more of a city person for sure.
Yeah, me too.
I used to say that. Then I'm getting old. Then I'm like, I don't know. I don't mind the
Like,
birds anymore.
Like people were like, "Well, you got a flock of birds. Like, why don't you get like 2 acres?" And that I just like, if I didn't have a flock of birds, I would live in a hotel where like people brought me fresh towels and I had zero maintenance of anything. Like that would be my ideal. But so I'm looking to simplify, downscale, simplify.
So you mentioned the politics of Utah, and you were raised in Utah. So that leads to the inevitable question: were you raised LDS?
I wasn't. You know, all my grandparents are, and my dad and my stepmom, and also my mom were all raised Mormon. But then they kind of did this sort of 70s metaphysical new age key party kind of love fest thing. And so their parents, they were the rebels. And I would have had to be like, you remember that show Family Ties with Alex P. Keaton, who was the like uptight suit wearing Republican?
Oh,
I would have
yeah,
had to be that to rebel in my family.
Really?
So yeah, they already, my parents already kind of rebelled, and I didn't have to do that.
So were they receptive to you like becoming vegan and being a little more radical in your dietary choices?
I think it kind of befuddles my dad. He's such a Mr. Meat and Potatoes. He tries. He actually went to Sage with me, and he tried. I don't know what he tried, like their nut burger or something, which I like, but for him it was. He just had this weird look on his face, like he was eating, like a kid eating spinach for the first time or something. And I'm pretty sure he grabbed a burger on the way home. So I try with him. Like whenever he'll be eating potato chips, and I'm like, those are vegan. You might want to be careful.
So how was it being raised in Utah, but not being raised really in an LDS family?
I found it hard because I was just a naturally good, well-behaved kid. And so it really irritated me when other little Mormon kids weren't allowed to play with me because I wasn't Mormon. That would really piss me off. And it didn't happen that often, but it happened enough. Like I'd meet a kid and we'd be friends, and then, their parents would give me a ride somewhere, and I'd get the inevitable question of, "Which ward are you in?" And I'd be like, "I don't know." And that would be the last time I would see that kid. So I ended up, by the time I was a teenager, I was kind of a bitter teenager, and I'd be like, "Oh, your little Mormon kid's pregnant? I should have let him play with me because here I am getting straight A's." And so I was kind of a smart ass by then. But my best friend is Mormon, and she always has been, and a lot of my family is. So, and particularly after I left Utah and saw other cultures, I ended up having like a little more tolerance for it. I ended up in New York, and my Jewish friends were talking about different plates they use for different foods, and I was like, what? That every kind of organized religion has their own set of stuff. And I went to a couple Catholic masses, and people are standing up and sitting down and so be with you, and like there's a whole script they know, and I was like, where are they getting I couldn't figure out where they were learning that. So everybody kind of has their own rituals, and I gained a little more tolerance once I left the, what do they call it, it's not the Iron Curtain, but it's
Zion?
The veil.
The veil.
Yes.
When I left the veil of Utah.
So do you classify yourself as a religious person now?
I don't. I never have been. Kind of a nothing. I mean, I guess I'd identify as atheist, but it seems too committal to me. Like it's too much of a commitment. So probably agnostic-y.
I felt that way for a long time. I was very hesitant to actually classify myself as an atheist.
Yeah.
But eventually it's just like, well, who am I kidding? I really am.
Yeah.
Like,
and I was just gonna say, I feel that like my tolerance for Mormonism has gone down the older I get.
Yeah.
Which is terrible.
Ask me in a few months. So.
It's true.
have you had the missionary sent to your house yet?
No, I don't. I never did in Seattle too, so I don't know if they will. I've been kind of having a little bit of fun with it. Like my movers showed up with my furniture from Seattle a couple days ago, and my dad and stepmom were there, and my mom was there. And then after my dad and stepmom left, the movers said, "So, like, who are they?" And I'm like, and he's like, "Well, who's the other woman?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're sister wives." And you know, my mom was just horrified by that, but the movers found it hilarious. So I tried it, you know. Pretty sure my next door neighbors are Mormon, so we'll see.
Sugar House is a pretty good mix.
Yeah.
But it's one of the good things. When I used to live there, it never came across as anyone really cared whether you were or not.
That's
Yeah.
how I feel.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's why I
good.
like it.
I'll probably just keep like some vegan brochures inside my door. And if they say, you know, we'd love to talk to you about, and be like, you know what? I would love to talk to you about going vegan. Why don't you come on in?
Why don't you come on in? I always
You
feel
say a sentence and I'll say a sentence. And
I just feel really bad for the missionaries because they're so young and they have no idea what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
For the most part.
When I lived in New York City, I would see them like on the subway headed to Harlem, and they'd be like, "Oh, little babies, please be careful. Like, be very careful."
Yeah, they're 18-year-old white boys heading to Harlem.
Yeah, it's not a good place for them.
I got lost in Harlem at 2 a.m. one time.
Nice.
Yeah. It was an interesting experience.
Your sister lived in Harlem?
Yeah, my little sister lived in Harlem, and it was interesting because I missed her stop, and I went to the next stop down, but it was like 45 minutes for it to go back, so I just got up and I was going to walk down. And as I was walking, a group of guys started following me. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Uh-oh.
And all of them, one was like, "You're Christy's little brother, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You guys look the same. Are you lost?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Let me show you where to go."
Nice.
Yeah, it was actually really nice. So what brought you to New York?
I went to college in Austin, Texas for undergraduate, and I ended up majoring in advertising, and Madison Avenue was just the place to go. So, and I wasn't sure as I wasn't coming back to Utah. So I actually hopped a Greyhound bus from Austin, Texas to New York City.
So is that what your day job is now, is in advertising?
It was for a long time, and it's pretty similar now. I think the easiest way to describe what I do is I'm a professional doodler.
A professional doodler.
Yeah, people pay me to come into like management consulting sessions, and I live draw the conversations all day. And then whatever work comes out of it, I execute that. So it's a lot of PowerPoint presentations and visual ecosystem maps and animations and stuff like that.
Okay, I'd heard about this last week for the first time. I'd never heard that this had happened.
Yeah.
And it blows my mind.
The doodling, the live drawing.
Yeah, because like I was at work and one of my boss's was like, "Oh yeah, we were at the Google headquarters and they live drew what we were doing, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'll have it for everyone for you." I'm like, "This exists? Like there's a job, someone gets paid to do that?"
Yeah, that's me.
Like, how do you get that gig? That sounds like amazing.
It's super fun. I worked as in advertising and then kind of in gaming for a long time and marketing as a creative director. So I've been doing it for a ton of time. And I just had a friend who he had started or, worked with a company that does visual thinking. So they clarify sort of difficult problems for corporations visually. And he just gave me a call one day and said, didn't you just quit your job? Aren't you kind of sitting around? Couldn't you help us out? And that's how it started. I was like, yeah, I can. And I just really love it. It's really fun and a good way to practice. They tell you to like live draw NPR segments and stuff so you can learn how to sort of keep up to speed. And
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Just
It
blows
sounds
my
fun
mind.
to me. It sounds like something I'd be interested in for sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like it like have a lot of traveling.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, they've been pretty good to me for a month. They kind of gave me a month off of travel while I was moving from Seattle to Salt Lake. But yeah, I travel about, on average, like once or twice a month, um, all over. Kind of depends on the project. And then I just work virtually from home for the rest of it. And most of it's a company out of Portland called X-Plane, and most of their staff is consultants like me. So when we go together for a project, we're usually flying in from like 4 different cities.
So, do you find it difficult traveling being vegan?
It's gotten a little easier. Um, I kind of tend to fend for myself. I find if I'll ask clients if they can have a vegan option, and they're still like, especially when I go to Detroit or somewhere, car country, they're like, yeah, there's a salad, and the salad's got like ham, and it's a Cobb salad, which is
Yeah.
mostly meat. Like, that's not vegan last time I checked. So I kind of just I find it helps to just carry a few things with me. I try to carry, like, they have those little packs in the airport now that are like hummus and chips, and a couple of the airlines have vegan options now for like their little snack packs.
Yeah, I saw
But I end up
Alaska
eating
Airlines
like,
does.
cookies and Pringles and bananas. It's a little tough, but
What's been your hardest experience traveling being vegan?
nothing too hard, thankfully. I mean, I think there's once or twice where I have had to not be vegan and I just had to like let it go. One was recently, the client ordered a round of shots and she was ready to party all night. She was so happy we were in town. And we had to work the next day, so we wanted to get back to the hotel and like plan her session so it went well. And she was ready to like, order shots and have a stay all night. So she ordered some shot. I think it was, I don't know what, fuzzy navel, or like, I don't know what it was, butterscotch and cream. And I didn't know what it was, and by the time I put it in my mouth, I was like, yeah, that was not vegan. But I didn't know what it was before I put it in my mouth, and then I was like, oh yeah. And she knows I'm vegan, so that was kind of a bummer.
I think with alcohol, sometimes people just don't think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it didn't even cross her mind. And it didn't even cross my mind until I like had it in my face. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's cream. Pretty sure that's
Accidents
cream.
I've never even heard of a fuzzy navel.
I've heard of fuzz.
I don't drink, so I don't hear of
Isn't
any
that
of
like
this stuff.
something with peach or something?
Yeah, and so I don't think it was that, but it was something, it had an inappropriate name. So I can't remember what it was, but it was something like sex on the beach, or, like something inappropriate that she had a few, and she, probably didn't get to go out drinking with, clients and vendors very much. So it was fun. It was a fun night, but yeah, I was like, oh, that was butterscotch and cream. That was really gross.
Shoot, I forgot. I was just thinking, a lot of wines also, they have the isinglass. Is that? Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I try to look at that. What's that website?
Barnivore, I think.
Yeah, to check out the wines. And I'm not a really big wine or beer drinker. I tend to just like what do I like? A dirty vodka martini. So pretty safe if I just stick to the olive juice and the vodka.
See, I've heard all those words together, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Dirty vodka martini. It's like a little bit of vermouth and a little bit of olive oil, or olive juice.
Olive juice.
And then olives and vodka. So
is olive juice even good? Like,
it just makes it salty.
Okay.
It's weird, but
I hear people like drink olive juice and drink pickle juice, and it just kind of makes me cringe a little bit. But then, I mean,
Just add some vodka and it improves it.
I've heard about pickle juice suckers.
Ew.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Suckers?
Yeah, well, not suckers. There'd be like more like popsicles. Sorry.
Okay.
Like you
Yeah.
take like the pickle juice and freeze it with a popsicle stick and make.
Well, if you put it in vodka, then it might not be bad.
Throw some vodka in there. You're good to go. You got it slushy.
So what I'm getting
Like an
from
ice
you,
cube.
I just get anything with vodka is good.
Yeah, that's a theme. That's a theme with me.
Sweet. So what's a good way for people to get in contact with you, donate, keep up with the flock and everything
Flock?
else?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is Facebook, but it's a little hard to search. So I would just say ducksandclucks.com. You can find us there, and that'll lead you to our Facebook. And yeah, it should be settled in a few weeks, and kind of looking forward to getting to know people in the Salt Lake area and open for, coffee or a vegan slice of pizza or something.
Or vodka.
Or vodka, something with vodka, yeah. And pickle ice cubes.
With vodka.
With vodka.
Vodka.
I like this vodka theme.
Yeah.
We end every episode saying "fuck shit damn." Would you mind saying it for us this week?
Oh, I have no problem with that. Yeah, fuck shit down.
Awesome.
It's been a pleasure. Fuck
Oh,
shit
thank
down.
you. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, have a great night.
You too. Take care, guys.
Bye.
See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This week you heard.
Time Machine. 1,000,001 Things.
Right now you're listening to.
Cormega. Raw Forever.
And as always,
El Comandantes.
which side are you on? Every week we are going to talk about this. It's kind of like an intervention at the end of every show. We need you to intervene, and right now go to iTunes, rate and review us.
All you have to do is
Sign on to iTunes.
sign on to iTunes.
Click rate and review.
And if you're not subscribed,
Subscribe.
subscribe.
There, yeah, if you're like at the library and someone's already signed in, kudos. Just do a good subscription.
Go subscription, go rate and review.
Yeah, helps the podcast. Someone might, get information they didn't know they had before. Your roommate leaves their Facebook signed in. Just go like us.
Your lover,
Anyone. Doesn't
your
matter.
ex-lover.
Sure. I don't know why you would have access, but no questions.
Friends, ex-friends,
Yeah.
enemies,
Sure.
frenemies.
Frenemies? Yeah. Yeah.
Make sure to check us out on social media, whichsidepodcast.com. Click on the social tab. There are news and events and lots of giveaways and stuff that we do on our social media that we don't talk about on the podcast. So,
You want to know what we just did on social media?
what did we just do?
We just announced a new podcast, a part of the collective.
Yeah, we have Radiculture. They are a new member of the Which Side Media Collective, along with 643, Soka, and
Hopefully
more
more
to
to come. So, Jordan, if you're interested in finding out more about the Which Side Media Collective, where would one go?
well, you can go to whichsidecollective.org, and you can see all of the current shows and the upcoming shows and members of the collective.
Oh, I did not know that. What is that website one more time?
That is whichsidecollective.org.
How do you spell this .org? I am so confused.
It's ORG, as in organization,
Oh, is that what that stands for?
because anarchists believe in organizations.
Seriously, check out the new Radiculture. And 643 if you haven't yet. And hopefully Soka, knocking on wood, will have more episodes coming out soon.
And then stay tuned for the new upcoming members.
And honestly, if you want to become a member, if you want to create something, we'll do whatever we can to help you and promote it for you too. So think about joining the Which Side Media Collective.
Whichsidemediacollective.org. Whichsidecollective.org. No media in the middle of that.
There's no media.
It's shorter that way.
That was a debate we actually had.
Whichsidecollective.org.
Whichsidecollective.org.
God, this is an awful outro.
Fuck shit down.
Are we doing that one, or are we doing Amazon, or are we doing...
Oh, yeah. We haven't done Amazon in a while.
Yeah, fuck it. Amazon. When you buy things there, you should click on our link
First.
Because we get muns.
We get muns.
Get a little bit of muns from it. Not a lot of muns. Just
This is how it works. If you're going to buy something from Amazon, you're already giving them money. If you click through our link first, it doesn't cost you anything, except we get more money and Amazon gets less. It's that simple. So if you're already planning on doing it, just click through our link first.
And we just get a small percentage of what you buy.
And it really helps. It adds up really quickly. So thank you. Even though you shouldn't be buying things from Amazon. But you're doing it anyways. So just use our link.
I do sometimes.
I know, me too.
Fuck shit down.
Fuck shit down.
.org.
Which Side is produced by the Which Side Media Collective.